Future trading involves risk and is not suitable for all investors. Content provided in this segment is meant for educational purposes and is not a solicitation to buy or sell commodities.
Welcome to Grain Gab, a show where we sit back and gab about what's on our minds with the grain markets and how it's affecting you, our producer, and just what to do about it. Look, the grain markets are forever moving. I'm downright crazy, just can't be emotional. That's why we're here, to sit down, look at things holistically, have a strategic approach, yet grounded in handling the obstacles that the market may bring us. I'm Lori Nelsen, your host, and this is Kristin Stien. Kristin, how's it going today?
What's happening, Lori? It's feeling a little rusty. I mean, we kind of got on a buy last month with being on Farm for Profit and the awesome hosts we had there. And now it's just like, okay, are we remembering everything we want to talk about? Because there certainly is a lot to go through.
Yeah, definitely this month, harvest. Harvest is upon us. It's one of the most record paces that we've seen as the crop is coming out. For the most part, everyone is experiencing good yields, but there are parts of the country that aren't faring so well. The funds have definitely stepped back out of some short positions in a major way on both corn and beans, adding the ability for a producer to be able to price some more bushels during that time. It seems like now they're maybe going into selling mode. September, the NOPA report, crush was up 12%. Soybean oil stocks continued decline for 6 straight months. The October WASDE report last week, released on Friday, failed to really offer support for corn and soybeans. Then you throw in South America, weather pattern seems to be changing, bringing in some moisture into the forecast. Kristin, what does this all mean?
There's a lot going on there. I mean, let's first off give a shout out to the American farmer because they really drew some bushels. And to your point, there was areas that not so much, but I think we had a really good idea of what those areas were going to be this year, specifically because of how wet spring was, right? And that really put a damper on. But when you look around the greater Corn Belt, there was some awesome weather this summer for growing a crop. Beans probably could have used an extra rain in August is what I'm hearing from a lot of guys. But the really cool thing is, we were gearing up. My husband and I were gearing up for a long harvest, right? We figured fungicide went on. It's been good moisture all year. We're probably going to have to dry a lot of bushels, so it'll take a long time. And all of a sudden, Mother Nature was like, I got you. They're harvesting 15, 16% moisture corn. It's just unreal. Right? A blessing. On the corn side, beans, maybe not so much because you're harvesting 8% beans when you typically like that to be closer to 12%. But I guess we'll take what we can get, right?
Right. And, if we just talk a little bit about the October WASDE report here, the ending stock numbers at 1.999.
Yeah, 2 billion bushels out. A record yield, new highs for that yield. And what we have to keep in mind is typically big crops get bigger, right? Everybody thought maybe they'd back off that yield, but let's be real. If you take out those problem areas that we had this spring, by and large, the feedback that we're getting from producers is, boy, this is better than expected. And we were expecting a good crop. And so it's not surprising that they came in with that. The thing that I continue to keep a really heavy eye on is that soybean world ending stocks to use ratio. That's a monster of a hill to get over. And when we consider everything, you mentioned South American weather, when we consider that they started off dry, but really in that Mato Grosso area, the forecast is starting to look a lot better for them. Boy, you hate to wish bad on your neighbors, but what's going to keep being supported if they end up having a good crop as well, right? And that's starting to get set up that way. So those are all things that we have to keep in mind. And really, let's take it back to the basics all over again. Let's take it back to those marketing rules. Number 6, identify risks and opportunities and have plans to manage both. Coupled with number 4, know your cost of production and maintain laser focus on profitability. The reason we're bringing those up, they sound more of like a pre-planting, let's get the plan in place type of conversation, but we're circling back around to it during the fall because we need to readjust what that is. Let's go through. If I had an APH at 200, and let's just use a calculator, an APH at 200 and a break even of 530, that's $1,060 an acre for corn. But if I take that over 250 bushel corn, all of a sudden that takes my break even to 424. Or if I take that over, I don't know, 275. I mean, don't tell the Chicago people, but I'm hearing a lot of those types of numbers. That takes us to a 385. Those are numbers December 24 as of right now at 11:10 a.m. on October 16th. Those are numbers that are profitable still. Maintaining that laser focus on, oh, I thought my break even was 530. Right? Now it's 385 maybe. And we haven't even started talking about the other sales that we made before harvest started, which apparently we were the weird ones of the group because we're not hearing that there's many farmers out there that have anything sold. But if you take in those sales that you had, that continues to lower that break even. The puts that you had, that continues to lower that break even. And all of a sudden we're in really profitable areas. So sell your puts, sell the excess grain. Maybe you buy a call just when it goes to that identifying risks and opportunities. Maybe you buy the call to say, you know what? Funds seem to be shorting this market all over again. We've had a little bit of a sell-off. I don't want to sell on the low if this is going to be the low, so let's have some upside in case I'm getting super aggressively sold from there. But by and large, I mean, normally, what's the usual producer's response when they have excess bushels? What do they do with those?
They want to hold on to them. They want to put them in commercial storage if they don't have room on the farm for what if the market goes higher. And so as you're filling your contracts and as you're seeing those extra bushels, sell the extra bushels, sell the puts, add a few calls for the what if to help you sell those bushels. You know, so as you're putting in those long hours and you're filling contracts and you're just getting tired, just focus on selling the bushels, selling the puts, giving us a call to say, okay, what do you think about call coverage? Adding a little bit of call coverage there. It just makes it simple. Avoid that commercial storage because you're still subject to futures and to basis on commercial storage.
Yeah. And how often do we all of a sudden put stuff on commercial storage? You pay what you could have spent on a call, but then all of a sudden the market falls back. You took shrink on top of that. The expenses just keep piling on and you didn't have any sort of protection in case the market didn't go higher from here. So it's a great call out, right? So I'd call that rule number one of what to do with excess bushels. Rule number two, probably make sure your contracts are filled, like fill those contracts first. Really take advantage of the work that you put in over the summer. Rule number three, no basis contracts. And carry market that can turn out really, really ugly. Because do you want to explain kind of the walkthrough of what happens if you don't hit your futures goal by the time that basis contract comes to expiration?
Yeah, I just got off the phone with talking to a guy, and just a perfect example was last year. It seems like in the news, several people got caught in that basis. So what happens is if you've got a basis contract and you don't get futures set, say on a December basis, that rolls out to the March. Then you look at that carry difference in the futures, that gets tacked on to your basis contract, making it a wider basis for you. You're sitting there waiting for March to move. Okay, we just talked about the massive amount of bushels that are coming in and what are guys going to do with these extra bushels. So if you're questioning that, want to talk more about it, give us a call. We'll run through it with you.
To your point, right? Like we've been waiting for the market to rally. The funds got out of short positions to the tune of what, 150, 200,000 contracts, and we moved 50 cents. Yes. Usually it's a heck of a lot more than that when they're moving that amount, but look at all the selling pressure that went with it. You can't tell me that selling pressure isn't going to be there come March timeframe or that winter timeframe when we're all thinking cash flow needs. The problem just compounds on itself. So really, I mean, avoid those two things, recalculate your break evens, fill your contracts, and price it and buy a call, or price it if you're happy with that price and move on, right? It doesn't matter either way. I think one of the biggest call outs is fall's a stressful time. There's massive amounts of logistics that you have to figure out. You're tired. Like, give us a call and let us be that sounding board for you when you're stressed. I know when I'm stressed, Lori's my sounding board, and all of a sudden I'm like, why the heck was I thinking that way? And it's like, oh, Lori, bring me back to square one for us, please. So just
good example.
I'll help you do that. Great example. It happens all the time.
Okay. You go, we think
now that we railed on me and what happens to me during stressful situations, let's learn more about Lori. Die the drumroll, please. Questions for human.
Okay.
All right, Lori, is social media good for us or bad for us?
Oh,
careful what you're saying.
I know. I know. I go back, and at first go back to how I grew up. I mean, we grew up on the farm, and
Like the early 1900s?
that was a lot. But we worked together, we played together. Our play was work, and I wouldn't want to replace that with ended up sitting in the house and looking at a screen. So I would say there's a healthy balance in all of that. Find your healthy balance.
Such a political answer for all the political times we're in. All right. So this one is a shout out to our very own Gail Weekers, because she just always has recurring dreams about us. And if there's anybody that wants to know what those recurring dreams are, I'm going to have you give her a call. Paige, will you kindly put the number down in the notes, and everybody bombard her and ask her about her weird dreams about Lori and I, because it's kind of strange. But this goes to you. And have you had any recurring dreams, either as a kid or in the later years, about Gail and I?
Oh, about you and Gail?
No. Right.
No.
Just as a kid.
As a kid, did I have reoccurring dreams? There was always something chasing me, whether it was a skunk or a snake. Those two things seemed to stick out as they were chasing me. So last night I was out. I had to take care of some things out in the barn. And the night before, there was a coyote real close to the barn. And I'm like, where's the coyote? Just was ready to get back in the house.
I figured you were going to say nowadays it's the bull or the bear chasing you. And you can't tell if it's a dream or real life.
That's just every day, Kristen. That's just every day.
Alrighty. Well, that's all I got for you. I'm going to learn.
Oh, thank
every
you.
Day.
I appreciate that. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Grain Gab. If you like what you see and what you hear, please subscribe and hit the like button. It really helps our algorithms. Thanks to Paige and the Insights team for making us look good. Until next time, keep your head up, feet grounded, deep breaths, get rest, and happy harvest. Safe harvest.
Cheers.
Cheers.